here we have z is equal to cos 4x minus 5y. I mean 6x minus 5y. Alright. All of these partial derivatives, delta z by delta x, delta square z by delta x squared, delta z by delta y, delta square z by delta y squared, delta square z by delta x, delta y, delta square z by delta y, delta x. I want you to pause the video right now, write down the question, and work out all of these for your own practice. And make sure that the delta square z by delta x delta y is equal to delta square z by delta y delta x. Okay, you have done it. Congratulations. Now, let us work through all of them. We have here A. Let's look at A. Delta z by delta x is equal to. Now, here, you can use substitution as we did before in the previous video, right? Letting u be equal to 6x minus 5y, so that z is equal to cos u. Then delta z by delta x would be equal to delta u by delta z by delta u times delta u by delta x. You could work that out. Well, let's do it mentally. Here, cos of something. When you find the cos, the derivative of the cos of something, you get the minus sine of that thing. So it's minus sine of 6x minus 5y. Now that all of this is the outside function. Multiply by, we're going to differentiate the inside function with respect to x now. When you differentiate that, you get 6. So what you really have is negative 6 sine 6x minus 5y. See that? That's delta z by delta x. Delta z, delta square z by delta x squared will be what now? You differentiate this with respect to x. So, again, you have the outside function is negative 6 sine of something. When you differentiate the sine of something, you get the cos of that same thing. So it's negative 6 cos 6x minus 5y. Then multiply by, differentiate the inside function with respect to x. You get 6 and multiply. Now this 6, you multiply this 6. Now what do you get when you do that? 6, 6, 36. So that's what you have there. Negative 36 cos 6x minus 5y. Alright? That was what? B. C. Delta z by delta y. What is it? Here you have a chain rule again. We're going to differentiate with respect to y. This is a function of a function. It's cos of something, and that something is itself a function. That something is 6x minus 5y. So here you have the cos of something. When you differentiate cos of something, you get negative sine of it. So it's negative sine 6x minus 5y. It's negative sine of 6x minus 5y. That's it. Differentiating the outside function times. Now the inside function is 6x minus 5y. When you differentiate that with respect to y, you get negative 5. So you multiply by that. Now, let's simplify this. It's going to be a negative 5, which will turn out to be a positive. It's like the negatives cancel out. Times 5 sine 6x minus 5y. See that? What about d? D, it was delta squared z by delta y squared. So delta squared z by delta y squared means you're going to differentiate this with respect to y. So you're finding delta by delta y of delta z by delta y. Alright? So it's delta by delta y of this 5 sine 6x minus 5y. Now, here, when you differentiate this with respect to y, chain rule again. You have the outside function. 5 sine of something. When you differentiate the sine of something, you get the cosine of it. So what you have is 5 cosine of 6x minus 5y. Now that something is the inside function. It is what you would have called u. The letter u if you were doing it step by step, showing our steps in the substitution. Alright, so here, when you differentiate, you would have found the u by dy. In this case, you differentiate 6x minus 5y with respect to y, and you multiply it, and you get negative 5. See that? So what you have now is a negative in front, and you multiply 5 by 5, you're going to get 25. And you have the cos 6x minus 5y. Nice. Now, let us look at the delta square z by delta x delta y. Alright. If we can work them out over here. We know that delta z by delta x is this. So here, to find delta z, delta square z by delta x, delta y, delta y, delta x. Alright, let's do the other part first. Delta y, delta x. Alright, delta x, delta y. It wouldn't apply to this one because we want to find the delta x of delta z by delta y, and the delta z by delta y is here. So this is the e would apply to this e. Alright, so delta square z by delta y by delta x delta y, it would be delta x delta y would be equal to, what we want to do is find the delta by delta x of delta y. Oh, why I put y up here is z. It is z that's supposed to be up here. Delta z. Usually cross my z not to mix them up with the 2. Alright, so delta square z by delta x delta y means you're finding the delta by delta x of delta z by delta y. Alright, so what happens here? Do we need this down here? We don't really need it. If you're making notes, you could go back and pause and write down your notes, but I don't think we need this right now. It's in the way and I want to make some space. Alright, so here now, the delta z by delta y is this. And we're differentiating this with respect to x. So what we have, when you differentiate this with respect to x, you have 5 sine of something. When you differentiate the sine of something, you get the cos of that thing. So it's 5 cos of 6x minus 5y. Then you're going to multiply by. Now, remember, you're differentiating with respect to x. The inside function is 6x minus 5y. And when you differentiate that with respect to x, you get 6. So what you have then is 6, 5, 30. So this will be 30 cos 6x minus 5y. Alright. So that is E. And then F now. Let's do F up here. F is delta square z by delta y delta x. Now that means you want to find delta by delta y of delta z by delta x, right? Which is delta by delta y of, what is delta z by delta x? It's negative 6 sine 6x minus 5y. Negative 6 sine 6x minus 5y. Alright, so what is this equal to now? You have negative 6 sine of something. When you differentiate the sine of something, you get the cos of that thing. So it's negative 6 cos 6x minus 5y times, now you're differentiating with respect to y. You're differentiating the inside function with respect to y, and this is the inside function. It is 6x minus 5y. When you differentiate that, you get negative 5. Alright? So, negative by negative, positive 6, 5, 30. 30 cos 6x minus 5y is what you get for that. So 30 cos 6x minus 5y. You get the same thing for both of them, alright? Showing that no mistake was made here. Alright, so if you didn't get all of that correct, just try the part that you got incorrect without looking back at the solution. Or if you got a significant number of them correct, I want you to pause the video and work out the entire question again. Try the entire question again and ensure that you get everything right. Alright, so I'll see you later.